Hello everyone, Joey Izzo here, and welcome to my first lesson in the Arch Echo Patreon. Thanks so much for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about using pivot chords in order to change between keys, and in order to change between keys quickly and to change through lots of keys, because this is something that's very often employed in Arch Echo music. So, let's just start with a couple basics. If you feel like fast forwarding these, have at it. So we have 12 keys in music. These keys are made up of major scales at the basics of it all. That's the key of C, D flat, D, E flat, and so on. It's sort of a mind-numbing but personal journey to just get those scales out of the way, know where they are on your instrument, and know them really well. So that's a great first step. Now, once we know those scales, we know the building blocks for chords in any of these keys. If I take that major scale and I make it into triads, especially with the first six, I have the building block for very basic songs, and many songs are made of just these first six chords. Now, if I play a version of these chords, it's likely that the scale they're derived from will sound nice to make a melody. Very nice. Now, this is all good, but we want to make it a little spicier. We want to go other places. So what I'm going to show you is just a quick tutorial on how I might spice each of these six chords up. So this might be a spot where you need to pause and take a couple notes, but that's okay. So on the one chord, I like to do some of these things. I might make it a major 7. I might make it a 6 chord. I might make it a sus2 or an add 9. Or a major 7 sus2, or a major 9. Lots of possibilities there. And all of these can be inverted. Now, 2 minor, I could make it minor 7, minor add 2, sus2, could add the 4, also known as a 13. I can do these larger voicings where I take the flat 7 or 13 or 9 and spread them out over longer distances. The 3 minor, I can do some very similar things to that. The only thing I typically don't add is the 9. Doesn't sound quite as nice. Now with the 4, I can make it a major 7, 6, add 2, sus2, sharp 4 even maybe. 5, there's many things we can do. We can add the 4. I love that one. Have a 9 in there. 13. And then we have our minor 6. sus4. Minor 9. All these potential voicings. And this is just in the key of C. All of these things could be translated into any key. For instance, in the key of D, I could do the same type of voicings. Right? There's really an infinite number of ways to stack these and to move in between them. It's a lot of fun figuring out what your favorites are. So, how does this help us to change keys? Well, it's a true statement to say that certain keys are going to share notes with other keys. For instance, the note E is shared by many scales. It's shared by the key of C, the key of D, key of E, the key of A. All of those scales and more have the note E in them. So it's also true to say that certain keys share chords. Not quite as many per key as notes, perhaps, but there definitely are these links there. For instance, The chord E minor is the 3 minor chord of the key of C, and it's also the 6 minor of the key of G. So, it's true to say that if I was to play an E minor in the key of C, it would sound like a good choice, and if I was to play it in the key of G, it would sound like a good choice as well. Here's an example of that. Key of C, here's the 1, 6 minor, 3 minor, 4. Fit there. Now I'm going to go to the key of G. There's 1, 5. This is now 6 minor, 4. And you notice that E minor, well, it had different emotional footprint in either of those keys. It worked in both of them. Now, this is where the fun begins in changing between the keys. So you'll see on my little example sheet here that we're going to be changing between the key of D, the key of E, the key of B, and the key of A, and then this key of A will actually go back into the key of D. So the key here is these last chords in each section. The key of A, for instance, the chord A, is the 5 in the key of D. You'll notice that I'm doing one of these little tricks to it that I showed you before earlier in the lesson. I'm adding a 4 because I think it's a nice choice for a 5 chord. However, the chord A, major, is also the 4th of the key of E. So this is a very slick way to get between two keys. You're going to notice that I'm going to play the A chord and then go into what sounds like a new key. But at the same time, in retrospect, A may sort of sound like it belongs in the key of E as well as the key of D, because in fact it does. So here's G, the 4 chord of D, going to the 6 minor, going to the 5. Excuse me while I bring this screen back up. Now, that A is the 4 of E. I'm now going to go to the 6 minor 7 of E. And I'm ending on the 3 sharp 5, 3 minor sharp 5 of the key of E, G sharp minor. So, again, that sounds like this. Now, what's linking these? Well, there always has to be something linking these interesting key changes. The slick sort of thing that I like to do a lot is just make them rhythmically match a bit. Well, the melody can also match in its phrasing, and I think we'll be definitely getting into that in another lesson. The rhythm simply going 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think combined with a pivot chord provides enough of a link that this key change seems like a good decision. Now, let's get into some more fun here. G sharp minor, the 3 minor of E, is also the 6 minor of the key of B. F sharp is the 5 of B. So it will feel like we are going from the 6 minor of B to the 5th of B. Then, after that, we're going to the 4th of B, E. And this E, however, is the 5th of the key of A. And then we're going to the 4th of the key of A, 1 of key of A, and then the 6 minor of the key of A. Except the 6 minor of the key of A, F sharp minor, is also the 3rd 3 sharp minor of the key of D. And so this allows us to go through these 4 keys with a little bit more than just random changes. Not only are they sharing this rhythmic pattern, but they're also sharing these pivot chords. And this is what it sounds like all together. Then back. Now, this is just the beginning, right? We can put patterns over this. We can put melodic phrasings over this. Just listen to what happens when I make one little motif or melody that sounds kind of similar in all keys. All of a sudden, it becomes even more melded together. Study this up, get to know what some of your own favorite pivot chords are. I think one of my favorites of all time, I'd have to say, would be finding something that is the fourth of the next key. For instance, if I'm in the key of C, and I'm going to go to 6 minor, and then to the 5. Now my question right here would be, if I want to go to a new key, what is G the fourth of? Well, G is the fourth of the key of D. So if I suddenly hear that G is not the fifth but the fourth, now I can feel like I'm in that new key. Let's go to D, which is the one of our new key. I'm going to imagine that's the fourth of the key of A. See? So we can just move around. And these key changes don't have to sound like the Broadway key changes where you're going. Right, so we're not just going somewhere for the sake of feeling like there's a change. We can make it be a little bit more slick and planned out. So that's the lesson for today. I hope you enjoyed. This content will be available, the sheet here, as well as the MIDI file recorded during this session. And I hope that you learned something from this. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out. I love talking about this stuff. So thanks so much for being a supporter of Archeco, and I'll see you guys soon.